So you got your course made, you got your students enrolled. Now it's time to give them something to do. So in this video, we're going to focus on how to set up your course editor so you've got folders and projects and activities, and you can be off and running on project-based learning. I will be treating this video as though you've had some training in project-based learning, and then I'm going to sidestep it and talk to you as though you've had no training in project-based learning. In case there's a situation where you're just coming into Bookdull and you're kind of thrown into the middle of things and you're not quite sure how to get started. But I want to share both in this video together so that if you're one of those people who has been thrown into it, you kind of know that there is something else out there that you need to prepare for and watch out for. Alright? So just bear with me no matter which direction you're going in. So to get started, you're going to find your course that you're concerned about making assignments with. In this case, I'm going to go back to my example of the general course. And if you're making an assignment and projects that go across all of your courses, you're going to want to click on the pencil for your master course. If you want to make a specific assignment for a specific course, you want to click on the pencil here. For this video, we'll keep things simple and we'll treat this as though it's going to happen across all your courses, because that's the thing that we most often do. So you're going to click on the pencil editor. And you're going to come back to a familiar screen if you've seen the previous videos. And what we're going to now focus on is this big blank area, like a blank canvas. You're going to be filling this in with all sorts of assignments and folders here in just a moment. In order to do that, you're going to click the plus button or just the line here of the text next to it, Add to General Course, Master Course 2017-2018. When you do that, you've got lots of options here. Let's explore these options before we make choices. First of all, this first screen that you're always brought to is split into 4 parts. And one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is that it's split into 4 parts for a reason. In this corner now that I'm circling, the folder project part, this is a place where you organize all your stuff. It doesn't actually serve any more of a purpose than a holding place. So a plain old folder, just like in a desktop system on your computer, you just put your files in this folder. For New Tech Network, we tend to organize our assignments along projects. So there's this option too where you can set up a default project folder that has many folders already put into it, named for you, that you can put your assignments in. You have a library and Project Wizard, and I just want to bring your attention to that this is a place where the New Tech Network has offered other kinds of resources that you can copy and use. So you don't have to start from scratch. I'll have another video later sharing more about that. Down here, this is your content that you create, and it's off over here because this is materials that you create that not necessarily is graded. Think of it kind of like a reading that you'd hand out in class, or a video that you want them to watch, but not necessarily you want them to do anything to it or with it, you just want them to read it or watch it. Or if you've got an online internet kind of, so I'm a science teacher also, and I've got some things that they can do like online labs, and they can change things and try things around. You can actually get a code to just put right in the website so they don't have to jump to other websites. And then over here is where a lot of teachers spend quite a bit of their time if they want something to grade. So you have assessments and assignment. This is going to be our big one that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But you have a whole bunch of other stuff here as well. There's a folder in our Tech Help where I'll go through every single one of these options and share with you what each one does and how you can utilize it as a tool as a teacher. But since this is kind of a crash course video, I don't want to get too far into the weeds about this just yet. I'm going to go back up to the top. These are the built-in assignments and folders. Let's take a look at these other options. So New Tech Network, you've got a template here that you can use. For the teachers I'm training, we're going to be focused on secondary items, but New Tech Network has been expanding to elementary schools. And if you're an elementary school teacher watching this, you have that option as well. And if you're a math teacher, you might do problem-based learning. There's a unit template for you as well. And then there's some other ones here in domain management that may be added, but very likely you're going to ignore this one, but just want to show it to you. So a lot of teachers, especially at Bookdull CLC, you're going to be using this secondary unit template. So we're going to click on that. You're going to give it a name. I'm going to leave it as it is right now. And then when you're ready, go ahead and click Add, or if you want to just jump right in and start editing, you can click Add and Edit. I'm just going to keep it as Add for now. And it's going to take a moment to update because it's kind of filling in the background. So there it is. And when I click on the bar, it opens up and whoa, there's lots of folders here. So basically, you click open each folder and NewTek Network has already filled in resources for you that you can fill out. The first folder is Facilitator Planning Materials, and you're going to want to open that up and take a look at these things, especially if this is your first time learning the NewTek Network system for project-based learning. This is kind of how, a step-by-step for you as a teacher, how to set up your projects. I have to warn you, if you're a new teacher to NewTek and you're going to try to learn project-based learning, don't learn it by just reading these things. You're really going to want to pull in a peer from someone in the school to help you walk you through project-based learning. It'd be best if you got a NewTek coach to help you as well. These materials are really not for students, so I would click this little I here and it puts a slash through it, which means it's now hidden from students. Students are never going to see that. Project launch. When you launch a project, you're basically introducing the project to your students, and you can just click on any of these assignments and fill them in. I'm not going to use much more time in this video to explain how to do that using this template, because if you're going to use this template, you really need to have one-on-one help or some peers or other teachers in your school really help you understand this. So I'm actually going to clear this page now of this template, and I'm now going to go off in the other direction I mentioned earlier. What if you're a brand new teacher to the school and you're kind of jumping right into it? Here, and you just need to get some assignments out here. Here's how you can do that. You're going to click on this plus button again. And very often, most teachers want to just put assignments into Echo. So of all of these options, you've got so many of them here, you want to pick assignment. So click on assignment, and it immediately opens up the assignment. So our previous screen just went away, and you're now in this area now where you can name your assignment and add a whole bunch of information to it. And this is going to become your assignment online for students to turn to and use. So I'm just going to give this Tech Help Assignment. All right, so now we've given it a name, and as you give it a name, the name comes up here. You can give it an image. I think if you're just getting started, worrying about an image is probably not something you should really worry about at this moment. Content. So this is the first thing that students are going to see when they open up their assignment. And you got a bunch of options here on what kind of content you want to put. If you just want to type something out, leave it as rich text. A course resource is something that might already be on Echo. That's kind of more in depth for later. If you want them to go to a website, you can put in a URL or a web address right here, and you've got some other options here. Or if you've already made a Google Doc or a Google Slideshow, you can connect it to your Google Drive and put it right here. But let's just say you're trying to make an assignment on the fly. You want to do rich text. So, what are 3 things you have learned about Echo? So you have a question here, and you can add more questions. You can also put in a link. So I just typed in a link. You can create a hyperlink for students to jump to, and right here is insert a link. So I do our website, bookdalclc.echo-ntn.org, and you can also choose to open up in a new tab. If you leave this unchecked, their actual Echo thing will change, and they may not be able to go back and forth to do answers. So personally, I always check this one, and now you got a link. And you've got all these other options here in terms of formatting your assignment. You can put a YouTube video in, you can put an image in, lots of other options. All right. You can add activity instructions, and what this basically does is in a corner of your page, of the student's page, will be a paperclip, and if they click on it, it'll give them extra instructions. I generally leave this blank, but if you want to give them extra instructions, you can. If you don't want to put a Google Doc in, if you want rich text and you want to put a Google Doc in, what I'd say is leave it as rich text, and then down here under attachments, you can add your Google Doc this way. So you can have your cake and eat it too in this case. So those are that's the actual creation of the assignment. Now, in order to make this worth something, you need to go up here to where it says settings, And now you have the settings for this assignment. And as you can see, there's gradebook submission here. Before we jump into that, let's make sure we've got some other things taken care of first. So we need to give it a due date. So let's say we're going to make this due tomorrow. And this is a philosophical question for you as a teacher. Do you allow late submissions? Do you not allow late submissions? If this box is left unchecked and the due date goes by, then students cannot submit their work to that until you go in and check this box. So I generally leave this box unchecked, and if I have the hard rule of no late assignments taken, I can just not give them a grade if it shows the submission date is after the fact. Objective mastery. If you recall from a previous video, there is some objectives in my course that I've added to it, and I can actually choose an objective. I'm just going to choose a random one right now. I'm not sure if that really fits. And so now this activity is literally tied to a standard. So if you're ever talking to colleagues or to a principal or to a guest and they ask you, hey, how does this tie in with your standards? You can pull up this assignment and say, this has to do with this standard right here. Really helpful, especially when you're breaking your data down later in terms of how your students are doing in terms of standards. So visibility and access, sometimes you want to hide something until a given point. If this is an assignment that you don't want students working on until they come into your classroom, you might want to consider putting a password on it. And so you can put any kind of password that's there, and you can find, and you can then put it up on your screen in your classroom, and then students can then access that assignment that way. You can also hide return scores until a certain date. So if you don't want students discussing their grade with you until a certain point, you can check that. You can also put a passing score on it as well. Now let's talk grades. So if you do an assignment, this box will be checked automatically. If you do different kinds of assignment features, that big long list that I showed with all sorts of things on it, this may not be checked, just so you know. If you expect students to write this on paper, then don't have any kind of submission type. But if you're expecting students to go into Echo and do this assignment online, you need to give them a place to put their work. If you do a Google Doc, they can do a Google Doc. If you want them to do an Echo, you need to change this from none to one of these other options. As a teacher, I choose notes only. It gives them a box for them to type their answer in, but you can also try a single document or multiple documents or a web address or URL, and they can attach to Google Doc or something like that in there. Then you need to give it points. So we have agency, collaboration, knowledge and thinking, oral communication, written communication, and this is really up to you as a teacher. Look through those school-wide learning outcomes, talk it over with our new tech coach, and make sure you understand what each of those options mean, and then as a professional decide where do you want to put your points here. If I'm trying to ask that question in terms of assessing your content knowledge, I might want to put points under knowledge and thinking. If I'm really assessing your ability to write, then I might put it under written communication. And how many points you make is totally up to you. If you have turned on the grading period feature and you want to separate your assignments out based on grading period, you also need to be mindful of this box here too, period 1 or 2. So I've set this up to be a semester course. If it's a year-long course, I'll also see period 3 and 4 here as well. Okay. New Tech Network generally advises you not to give extra credit and instead give them enrichment activities or things like that. You really have flexibility on who gets graded and who doesn't, so extra credit is kind of a moot point now. But if you prefer to give extra credit or you have a system in place where extra credit is needed, you can check this box. Be mindful, there are some issues that come with extra credit that I'll explore in a later video. So if you're just getting started, why don't we just avoid extra credit for now? There are also some other options here, but again, this is a crash course, and I don't really want to go too far into the weeds about this. So you really have now gotten most of the information that you need to really understand how to make an assignment. So now we're going to click on Save, and there's my assignment. So Tech Help Assignment, and right here is the number of the standard. If you want to edit it ever again, there's the pencil, and you can click on the pencil, and it'll take you back to the assignment. If you want to hide it from students, so if you didn't put a password on it but you want to still hide it from students, you can also click that. Keep in mind though, students will not be able to access that until it's been unclicked. So if you put it on your agenda or something like that, and the students try clicking on it, they won't have it, and you'll find yourself having 20 plus people telling you, I can't access my assignment. So be careful, use this judiciously. Finally, these three dots here let you do several things. We don't have a lot of other assignments, so we can't move it up or down, but if you have extra assignments, you can move it up that way. You can also click and drag and move this around, so that's not the biggest feature in the world. But this is also important, preview or delete. Earlier I had that template PBL folder and I got rid of it without really explaining it. You can delete anything in here using this. If you delete something accidentally, this is very important, go up to the monkey wrench and there is a recycle bin and you can have your materials there. So here is my folder. I've actually created two folders, one earlier, and if you want to restore selected, just click restore selected and it will put it back into your editor. So even though it's deleted, it is not permanently gone. So if you have an accident, not to worry. It's very difficult to actually delete something in Echo. Alright, so now you have an assignment, everything's all set to go. The next thing you need to know is how to set up an agenda. So I'm going to do a crash course on agendas here so that students can have a place to go to quickly find it.